120 episodes of this stupid show.
Hard Rock.
They canceled Firefly, which is one of my favorite shows of all time after one season, and yet nobody even cares enough to come and cancel this show.
Hard Rock.
I don't know if that's the case, and I'm not here to judge, but I'm kind of here to judge. Actually, aren't we all kind of here to judge?
Hard Rock.
Billionaire with a B, by the way, like as in like big douche.
Hard Rock.
I'm exhausted just from pressing the applause button. That's how good this show is.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
What is up, everybody? It's time for yet another edition of the Hard Rock Lunchbox and the Top 20. How is your Thursday going thusly? Thus farly? Thus furly. Thus furly. This week on the Hard Rock Lunchbox. Yeah. What's wrong with thus furly? Pick up words whenever we want. You know, like thus furly, woke, that kind of stuff. Just kidding. How's everybody doing? Just a complete disclaimer, we're going to talk about DJ's Medical Malady Minute in a little bit, but I am in not excruciating pain anymore, thank you very much, to Lara Family Chiropractic, not a sponsor, by the way, but I am having some, not paralysis, but some numbness in my fingers, which is really great for a guitar player, but at least I'll get to play like most of the other guitar players around here. See, I did that, threw some shade and complimented myself at the same time. I'm just trying to find a comfortable place to sit, so if it looks a little odd when you're watching this in the top 20, I do not have ants in my pants, as was the classic problem when we were kids. I have pain in the vein. How about that? Like, we could do that, everybody? I'm working on it. I've had 3 of the most painful things happen within the past 6 weeks, so I am over it personally, so I don't know. I do want to talk about one of the treatments I had yesterday because it was just bananas funny. But, I mean, not funny, haha, but funny like, whoa, that's weird. But it made me think, like, if anyone is currently sporting a voodoo doll of me, like, if we could just, like, agree on some terms, like, that'd be cool. Because at this point, that seems like it's totally possible. And yes, I may have just said turtly. Not like turd, this isn't a bathroom show, but turtle. Turtly funny. I'm exhausted just from pressing the applause button. That's how good this show is. All right, well, let's just get right to housekeeping, shall we, everybody? Yes, of course we shall. First thing you need to know is there's a brand new episode of the Top 20. Top 20, episode 119. Like that should ever be a thing. But it is, which will actually make this episode 120. 120 episodes of this stupid show. They canceled Firefly, which is one of my favorite shows of all time after one season, and yet nobody even cares enough to come and cancel this show. Sorry, Captain Tight Pants. Anyway, so yeah, there is yet another edition of the Top 20 out, and yes, there was yet another school shooting, so we kind of talk about that, red flags, and all that other stuff. Also, I talk about the upcoming Radiothon, which is now in my rearview mirror. I want to thank everybody that stopped by for the Autism Radiothon, and everybody that listened, everybody that said hello, definitely everybody that donated, thank you so much for that. And for those of you that didn't come by or donate, I'm just going to assume that you're very pro-autism, and that's why you didn't show up. I don't know if that's the case, and I'm not here to judge, but I'm kind of here to judge. Actually, aren't we all kind of here to judge, really? Well, that's not going to be this show. We've done that enough, so. But anyway, there was some nonsense going on with my back neighbors. That has continued, and I'm becoming the older man on the porch every week, just being annoyed by their nonsense. But I actually did something this week that's going to annoy them, so I'm kind of happy about that. And if you think I'm being petty, it's because I'm being petty. Then you've done a very good job and recognize it. So give yourself a round of applause. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, so also, that's not our only housekeeping. Bacon is my podcast. As far as I could tell, they're on 37 times a week at this point. Full interview this past Monday was Arcane Ghost. I did not get a chance to check that out, but I'm going to. I'm actually more interested in checking out Discussions and Drinks from last night because it's an old school episode, and I love when I've played like my original Hard Rock Lunchbox has got to be some of the worst radio ever. It's second and only by what I'm about to do today. So, like, I really like those looks back when things are new and you just don't know what it is. Like, I realized how long I've been doing this show because when I was doing the Radiothon, I'm not on the Hard Rock Lunchbox. I mean, like, I am promoting the Hard Rock Lunchbox, which is, well, I'm not really promoting it. I'm sort of saying who I am and why I'm there. And as far as that whole world cares, nobody really gives a shit that I'm in Revel 9 or anything else that I do. It's just I'm part of the channel. I'm part of New Raquel Radio and 99WNRR.com, or if you're, Giovanna, it's 99RRRRR. Whatever she said in that bumper, which I will now be playing today because it still makes me laugh. No matter how many times she threatens to fix it, I will never play a corrected version of that bumper. But I am a member of the station. I am the Hard Rock Lunchbox, and I was playing stuff, and I was on for 3 hours playing music, and I was, every time I would introduce a song, I had to force myself to not say, like, on the box, because I've been saying that for almost 10 years. And I definitely let one slip by, and it was just like, ooh, not on the box. This is what it would sound like if you're on the box. But we raised a lot of money, so that was cool. But I do like going back and looking at some of the earlier episodes, because at this point, like, the guys and Bacon is my podcast are just like in the flow. Like, they know how to do interviews, they know how to have their own discussions. It's not like, where's the camera? It's like, oh, the sound. So like all that's over. So you're not going to see any of that like low level Wayne's World shit, which is what I totally love from like the first episode. So anyway, so I'm looking to check that out. I'm hoping to have a little time this weekend, because while I do celebrate Easter, my youngest kid is now 16. So like, we can really just offset the egg hunt with, like, here's $50 if we wanted to. But, unfortunately, she's such a cute little dork. She's probably still going to want to do the egg hunt. So, anyway, I'm hoping after that I'll have some time to watch the OG episode of Bacon, my podcast. Feel free to do that as well. They're on the Twitch live stream tonight. Again, David, I don't know if David Caggiano is going to be part of that. He better be in his studio working on the Revel 9 mixes if he knows what's good for him. I don't care. Take your time, Dave. I want it done right. You definitely take your time, but I'm in literally no hurry. There's literally nobody banging on my door right now for the new Revel 9. Like, see that? That was a sound effect. That was not a real person banging down my door for the new Revel 9. I haven't even decided what the first single is going to be yet. My money's on Side Out or Aaliyah, but it could be either of the other, any of the four, and we'll just kind of figure that as we go. There's got to be some video consideration, all that other stuff that nobody cares about, not even me, which is why it hasn't been answered. And then, of course, on Bacon is my podcast, 7 Questions tomorrow night with Alina Scissorhands, singer of the band Infected Rain, I've never heard of. So if you want to check them out and learn a little something about them, I would highly recommend that. And, of course, as always, on Strangerhood TV, please like, subscribe, comment, and set up the notifications. We are slowly growing that channel, and the operative word is slowly. So we would like to get that over 10,000 people before I die, which, given my current medical status, could be as early as the top of the hour. So that all being said, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the news. If you have eyes or ears. I actually really have very little interest in talking about any of the Trump stuff, except for one thing that I noticed yesterday that was kind of funny, and it was very indirectly related to Trump. I was clearing some stuff off Facebook because I had to answer a couple of messages that had come in, which totally reminds me I did not answer all those messages, so I have to do that. If you have an outstanding message from me, don't worry. Spud's on the job, Bob. I'll get there. But what I noticed, and I notice this a lot, I'm actually, I'm literally surprised that I have so many, like, real diehard Trump supporters that are still, I guess it's friends on Facebook. I mean, we're not really friends. I mean, I have a couple that, like, it's okay. Like, we just disagree, and that's fine. I don't mind that. But I'm always surprised at how many diehards I have that, did not just unfriend me or block me, which was most of them, which was Man, was I grateful for that. Thank you, because it's just not something I really do, and it's something I've been working on, like trying to get past the mental hurdle of, like, I don't care about any of these people at all, or 99% of these people, so I should just, like, block them, unfriend them. But the reality is, I'm on Facebook so little, it just doesn't really matter. It's really more of it's a mail tool at this point. But I realized something when I was on yesterday. In my feed, there were two main things. There was, I stand with Trump, and then there was a picture of him with a lion for some reason, probably because he's a pussy, maybe, I don't know. Standing with a lion, the real commander-in-chief, which is, like, completely bananas anyway. Like, if we could just be done with it, my guy won. Like, no, he didn't. He lost by a lot, and he still tried to cheat and all that other stuff. But what I realized is that so many people on Facebook had these things as their cover photos or profile pictures or whatever. Dude, if you were ever looking for a time to spring clean your Facebook feed, at least like I did, like I just snoozed. I must have snoozed like 40 people for 30 days. Like, do you have any idea how nice that's going to be? Like, I was like, oh, this is so easy. I don't even have to think about who it is. It's like, snooze for 30 days, snooze for 30 days, snooze for 30 days. And I'm doing this in my head. It's like 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I realized that it's not like, you know, it's all like concurrent. It's not going to be like consecutive and stuff like that. But hey, man, 30 days is 30 days. And I realized that Trump's not going to be back in court until December, which is also kind of bananas, by the way. But like, you ever just do something where it's like, well, that's not going to be a problem for 30 days. Like, I don't know, pay your mortgage or pay like a Discover card bill, or I don't know, pass a kidney stone. I don't know. I don't know what people do for fun anymore. But, yeah, so I really had no intention of talking about that. But seriously, like, I could not advise it more. If you're looking to snooze your Facebook feed of Trump supporters, of the big dumb ones, like, now is a better time than ever. They're basically all wearing, like, a giant hat. So you can just see them. Like, you don't even, like I said, you don't even have to really go through it. Like, you just scroll, it's like click, scroll, click, scroll, click, scroll, click. It just, it was beautiful. So, like, in a very rare way, like, thank you very much, diehard Trump supporters. You, for the first time ever, have made my life a little easier. So, like, this was great. And here's to a promise of 30 days. Like, I don't remember, it was 40 days, right? With Noah and the animals in the boat. Like, this is almost that. Like, this is almost biblically good. Like, Anyway, I'll shut up now. So I didn't have anything politically to talk about. I was literally going to talk about all the medical stuff that I've been going through, and not in a lot of detail. Like, I know that people think, like, I share absolutely everything about my life. Like, that's really not true. And I think it's funny when people are like, oh, I thought you just, everything. No, that's how much stuff is going on in my life in any given day. Like, it just really is. Like, it's pathetically ridiculous, and something I'm actively been working on lately. Like, trying to just say yes to, like, fun things. Like, as messed up as I was yesterday, like, dude, I literally had a coffee appointment with Annie Stoic of Jackknife Stiletto. That's how pathetic it's gotten, because Annie, who was one of my dearest friends, will message me and be like, I'd like to make an appointment for coffee, please. And I'm thinking, like, would you also like your tires rotated? Like, just, like, are we going to check your spark plugs and stuff? And she's 100% right to do that, because I'm so horribly bad at kind of maintaining all these other things in my life, because I'm constantly getting swamped and bombarded by a million other things, and I just can never keep up. So I've been, like, actively working on it. Like, it's like, not that I've, like, it's not like I'm reading The Secret or anything, but, like, this is a literal goal of mine to make more space for things that I enjoy more, and just kind of put aside stuff that I don't enjoy. And some of that, it's going to include, like, some better health stuff, but, like, Better Health Advanced 3.0, because the stuff that I'm doing right now is great and keeping a lot of other stuff at bay, but it's coming at the cost of all this other stuff. You don't need to know that. So nobody cares. Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares. So, I was going to talk about some of that, but then there was just this fantastically wonderful 9-page story in ProPublica this morning about my dude and yours, Justice Clarence Thomas. You might recognize him as the black guy on the Supreme Court. I'm not saying that to disparage him or be at all racist, but it is important to know who he is, because he is very against stuff like equal rights for minorities or women, and, married to a white woman named Ginny Thomas, by the way, who is under scrutiny for insurrection, because she was very involved in some of the January 6th stuff. very bad person, very nasty person, and could not happen to a nicer guy, in my opinion. Justice Thomas was also accused of sexual misconduct during his court confirmations. I mean, it would be nothing compared to what would go on later on with, like, Brett Kavanaugh and stuff like that. But, you know, first is worst, second is best. Third is the one with the treasure chest. I believe that's true. But, yeah. So one of the things you need to know about the Supreme Court, if you don't already know this, is, and you might not know this because they basically canceled civics in all high schools because they don't want you to know how government works so they can manipulate you. Like, you know, like Republicans are always like, oh, what are they really trying to distract you from by, you know, having Trump indicted on 34 counts of business fraud? Like, no. That's what we're actually talking about. We don't do the distraction, right? We're not doing that. The left does not do that. I mean, yeah, sure, we could probably wag the dog if we wanted to, but we don't need to right now. Like, there's no, I mean, yeah, the economy's in trouble because we had to bail out the Trump administration and because there's a war going on in Eastern Europe and a bunch of other stuff is happening with China posturing and stuff like that. Like, China's just brokered a deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, historic enemies, by the way. Like, if, you know, you want to... You don't know your civics, and I'm sure you don't know your history either, but Persians and the Arabs, it's not the same people. Now, I know that's going to surprise a lot of you, and that's okay, because you haven't learned those things. That's all right. They are historic enemies. They do not like each other, and China is now brokering peace between them, something that the Americans were famous for, but American diplomacy's in the shitter because our last president basically put it there. Yeah, good job. Anyway, so my dude, Clarence Thomas, who I think is a really bad dude, and really, he was supposed to have recused himself from some of the January 6th stuff because his wife is so involved in it, and that's like ethics 101, but because you're a Supreme Court justice and you can sit for life, unless you're impeached, which takes 2/3 of the Senate, and honestly isn't going to happen ever in our lifetime, you basically have to die or resign, which is usually how people kind of leave the Supreme Court, and that's certainly how they've been doing it lately. But this dude is a bad dude. He's been a bad dude for a long time, but now he's got a whole bunch of new ethical violations, which I'm sure are going to amount to nothing, although I do have a theory as to what could happen that might be interesting to nerds like me that care about this kind of stuff. But I thought this was interesting, so I was just going to read a little bit. It's from ProPublica today, and it's all about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. For over 20 years, this is the lead. This is the lead line. For over 20 years, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been treated to luxury vacations by billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow. Already bad, man. Already bad. He goes on cruises in far-flung locales on Crow's yacht, flies on his private jet, and keeps company with Crow's powerful friends at the billionaire's private resort. Billionaire with a B, by the way, like as in like big douche. Although I realize that's a D as well, but like big boosh. Sure. The extent of Crow's largesse has never been revealed until now. For over 20 years, Clarence Thomas has been treated... I read the title. For over 20 years, Clarence Thomas has been treated to luxury vacations by billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow, and keeps company with Crows, blah, blah, blah. In late June... Yeah, I know, I'm doing a stellar job. It's probably why this isn't a news show. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. This is what's missing. I forgot my newspaper ticket. There we go. In late June 2019, right after the U.S. Supreme Court released its final opinion of the term, Justice Clarence Thomas boarded a large private jet headed to Indonesia. He and his wife, Jenny Thomas, insurrectionist, real bitch of a woman too, he and his wife were going on vacation. 9 days of island hopping in a volcanic archipelago on a super yacht staffed by attendants and a private chef. If Thomas had chartered the plane and the 162-foot yacht himself, the total cost of the trip would have exceeded $500,000. $500,000. Fortunately for him, that wasn't necessary. Oh, yay! Good for him. He was on vacation with real estate magnate and Republican mega donor Harlan Crow, who owned the jet and the yacht, too. That must be so nice. Must be a super cool dude. Because you know those Republican billionaires, how much they care about us. Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny, with Harlan Krupa, right? And other... There's a picture. You can't see the picture. And others in Flores, Indonesia in July 2019. Oh, that's a credit. For more than 2 decades, Thomas has accepted luxury trips virtually every year from the Dallas businessman without disclosing them. Uh-oh. Documents and interviews show a public servant who has a salary of $285,000. He gets paid $285,000 a year to be a Supreme Court judge. That's a pretty good deal. Like, it might not sound like a lot, but he also doesn't work all the time either. So try to remember that. He works kind of like teacher's hours. Anyway, he has vacation on Crow's super yacht around the globe. He flies on Crow's Bombardier Global 5000 jet. He has gone with Crow to the Bohemian Grove, the exclusive California all-male retreat. I'm not just saying. Listen, when I was a kid, I belonged to the He-Man Woman Haters Club, along with the rest of our gang, you know, Alfalfa and Steiny, Buckwheat. Not Darla, though. And to Crow's sprawling ranch in East Texas. And Thomas typically spends about a week every summer at Crow's private resort in the Adirondacks. The extent and frequency of Crow's apparent gifts to Thomas have no known precedent in the modern history of the United States Supreme Court. These trips appeared nowhere on Thomas's financial disclosures. Sorry. His failure to report the flights appear to violate a law. This is the flights. His failure to report the flights appears to violate a law passed after Watergate that requires justices, judges, members of the Congress, and federal officials to disclose the most gift. 2 ethic law experts said. He also should have disclosed his trips on the yacht, these experts said. Thomas did not respond to a detailed list of questions. This article goes on and on and on, as it should, because he's a huge douchebag in doing some illegal shit. There is a reason there is a watch of ethics in Washington, because it is super easy for the super rich to curry favor and therefore curry power. What makes you think that Thomas is ever going to vote against something that this dude doesn't really want? Ever. Like, because would you honestly risk a $500,000 free vacation to Indonesia just because your buddy wanted to, like, I don't know, dig for coal in Indian land, or, excuse me, Native American land? Would you? $500,000 trip? I gotta tell you, man, I don't get away all that much. I feel like I would do a lot for $500,000. And I'm not saying that I'm going to start an OnlyFans account. I think that's what those are for. I'm so old. I'm sorry. I don't know what those are for. But I think I would do a lot for $500,000. And I think if I was just going to be swayed as a justice in doing something that looked like I was going to do anyway, like, I think I would just do it. And that's just one trip. This dude is definitely bad. And it's completely fine to have rich friends and, like, do all that stuff. But it's not okay to not report it. It's the hiding of it. It's the problem. And not to tie this all back into Trump, but, like, one thing that people need to know as the indictment goes forward, yeah, it was based on hush money, but hush money by itself isn't illegal. I can pay you all the money in the world to be quiet as long as it comes out of my pocket. Like, here's $100. How about you shut the fuck up? Like, that's a completely legal transaction, right? It is. You're totally allowed to do it. What you're not allowed to do it is lie about it. That's a problem. And by not disclosing it, that's lying about it. Omission is just as bad as lying about stuff, because if you're being basically paid these things in recurring gifts, you're not allowed to do that. Those are ethical violations in Washington. And according to this law, this post-Watergate law, where people were basically bribing the Vice President of the United States all the time, it's now illegal. And while I fully expect that Justice Thomas will never be impeached because there's not enough Democrats in Congress or in the Senate to do that, and honestly, in this day and age, like, Republicans, like I was saying a couple weeks ago, Republicans just don't step down. They really don't. They don't care what egregious thing they do. I mean, that dude from Florida, Matt Gaetz, was literally sex trafficking minors across state lines. He didn't step down. Al Franken, like, touched somebody's titty, and he did step down. Cuomo, they still haven't proved anything against him, and he stepped down. Republicans do all kinds of bad shit and never step down, so I don't expect it. The one shining silver lining I possibly see is that Chief Justice John Roberts has really had quite enough of the bullshit going on in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has never been looked at more disfavorably than it does right now. And the problem is these courts are named after the Chief Justices, like in history. So, for the rest of ever, people are going to look back on the Roberts Court as being the one that leaked the Dobbs decision about Roe v. Wade that basically overturned that. And this flurry of ethical violations and the sexual reporting against Brett Kavanaugh, and even Brett Kavanaugh hanging out with Matt Gaetz, who's sex trafficking out of Florida. All of this stuff will be filed under the Roberts Court, and he is really getting quite tired of it, getting undermined by the people on the right. And you'll actually start to see him vote a little bit more on the left because I don't know why, but it just seems to be happening. So I'm wondering if at some point he's going to make it so excruciatingly difficult for Clarence Thomas to be a part of this thing that he might just retire. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I'd like to really think that. The only other thing I can kind of see is that if Biden wins re-election, which if Trump is the contender or the Republican candidate, I fully expect that Biden would beat Trump. I don't know that Biden would beat anybody else, but I feel like Biden would beat Trump if they went head-to-head again, especially after the latest nonsense that's going on and the insurrection and all that other stuff. But the only other silver lining I see as the only other possible silver lining I see is that if Biden does run and does win again, I think there is a case to be made for this White House that if Clarence Thomas does not step down amidst all of these ethical violations, then the only choice that we have as a people would be to expand the court to go to either 11 or 13, which is something the right desperately does not want. And I don't blame them because it'll undermine 40 years of what they've tried to do. But if you're going to keep playing dirty and can't keep your fucking mouth shut and hands out of the cookie jar, I feel like that's going to be the recourse. And I'm all for it. I am fine if you have a different ideology. Stop cheating at the game, too. I'm so over it, and so many more people are over it. And most of the people that I speak to are quite about that. The ethics violations that are going on in Washington are not why we sent you there, dude. Seriously, all my friends, most of them are fuck-ups to a degree, at least a slight degree, but they're proud of it, and I love them for it. And that's why I'm playing this song, because I segue like a mother